All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another deep dive with us.
Yeah, always great to be back here, ready to dig into some fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. And our listeners are here because they really want to learn fast and deep and maybe even on topics they haven't really explored before.
That's right. We love that. And today we're going to get super practical with you focusing on something that I think is relevant to pretty much anyone in the job market these days.
Yeah, for sure. And that is crafting a resume that really stands out, a resume that practically screams, hey, you got to hire me. And we're going to be looking at this specifically for those of you targeting trade assistant roles.
Exactly. And to guide us on this deep dive, we've got an excellent resource that's really laser focused on the Australian blue collar sector.
So if you're in that space or thinking about heading in that direction, this is definitely for you.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to really pull out those golden nuggets from this source and give you a clear understanding of what makes a trade assistant resume truly shine.
And why is this so important right now? Well, this source really highlights that even when the economy gets a little bit shaky,
Oh, yeah. Times are tough for a lot of folks.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But even then, trade assisted positions, they tend to offer really solid employment opportunities down under.
that's right. There's a consistency there, a reliability that's really appealing in uncertain times.
It is. So if you're looking for a career path with that kind of stability, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Couldn't agree more. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it. And one of the first things that really jumps out from this source is the emphasis on skills.
Oh, yeah. Skills are absolutely paramount. It's not even a question.
Right. But it's not just about having skills, it's about showcasing them effectively on your resume.
Absolutely. And the source makes a really important distinction here. It talks about the need to demonstrate your skills, not just list them.
So it's not enough to just say, oh, yeah, I'm good with tools. You've got to go deeper than that.
Exactly. Employers want to see evidence. They want to see how you've used those skills, when you've used them, and what the outcomes were.
So let's get specific then when we talk about hard skills for a trade assistant.
Hmm.
What are some concrete examples that you should be thinking about, including on your resume?
Well, the source gives us some great pointers, and I think it's worth really paying attention to these.
For sure. So let's break it down.
All right, so first off, think about your proficiency with tools. This is huge in the trades.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be comfortable with those tools.
Right. So on your resume, mention specific hand tools and power tools that are common in the trades you're targeting.
Okay, so don't just say proficient with tools. Be more specific, like experience with using circular saws and jigsaws, for example.
Exactly. The more specific, the better. And if you've got experience operating machinery like a forklift or a concrete mixer, definitely highlight that as well.
Oh, yeah, that kind of experience is gold.
It really is. And of course, don't forget about certifications.
Certifications are huge, aren't they?
Huge. Any relevant certifications you have, make sure they're clearly visible on your resume.
So things like a first aid certificate or working at heights ticket, any trade-specific certifications you've got, make sure those are front and center.
Absolutely. Those certifications show that you've got the knowledge and the skills that meet industry standards.
Okay, so we've covered those hard skills now. What about those soft skills? Those interpersonal skills that are sometimes a bit harder to quantify.
Yeah, those soft skills are just as crucial as the hard skills. Maybe even more so in some cases.
You really think so?
Oh, absolutely. And our source specifically calls out problem solving, teamwork, and communication as vital soft skills in the trades.
And it makes sense when you think about the environment you're working in.
Exactly. On a job site, you're often part of a crew, right?
Right.
So being able to collaborate effectively is key.
Absolutely. Got to be a team player.
And then there's problem solving. Things don't always go according to plan on a job site, do they?
Never, things always come up, unexpected challenges.
Exactly. So your ability to think on your feet, to come up with solutions and communicate those solutions clearly, that's incredibly valuable to an employer.
All right, so you've identified these hard and soft skills. You've got them all listed out. Now, how do you actually showcase them on your resume in a way that really grabs an employer's attention?
Well, here's the key. You don't want to just have a separate skill section and list them out like a shopping list.
Okay, so no laundry lists of skills.
Right. Instead, you want to weave those skills directly into the descriptions of your experience.
I say, so tell me more about how to do
Okay,
that.
so let's say you've used certain tools extensively in a previous role.
Right.
Instead of just saying experienced with tools, you might say something like proficient in the use of a range of power tools, including drills, saws, and grinders, gained through daily use in a construction laborer role.
Okay, so you're giving context. You're showing how you've applied those skills in a real-world setting.
Exactly, and that's much more impactful than just a generic statement.
And what about certifications? Where should those go?
If you have a specific certification, you can make it prominent maybe near your name or in a dedicated skills section.
Okay, so it's easy to find.
Right, but also try to mention it in the context of a relevant job so it doesn't just stand alone.
Got it. So integrate it into your experience.
Exactly, and for those soft skills, try to think about specific situations where you demonstrated them.
So give me an example of that.
Sure. Let's say you're highlighting teamwork as a strength. You could say something like, effectively collaborated with a team of 5 to complete a complex construction project on time and within budget.
Okay, so you're not just saying you're a team player. You're giving a concrete example of how you've demonstrated that skill.
Exactly, and that makes it much more believable and compelling for the reader.
I like that. And, our source even has a really helpful tip for those of you who might have worked as a general laborer or in a similar role where you've had exposure to different tools and machinery.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So if you've got that kind of background, the source really emphasizes highlighting that experience on your resume.
Right, because that hands-on familiarity that you've gained is super relevant and highly valued for many trade assistant roles.
Absolutely. So don't let that experience get buried or overlooked in your resume. Make sure it shines through.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The next crucial element the source dives into is the weight of your experience.
And this is something that really resonated with me because it's almost saying that in the trades, sometimes having actual hands-on experience can be even more valuable than just having formal qualifications alone.
Oh, I'd agree with that 100%.
Really?
Absolutely. While qualifications are important, of course, in the trades, practical experience speaks volumes.
It shows that you can actually walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly. Employers want to see that you can not only understand the theory, but that you can actually perform the tasks required of the job.
So how can someone who's putting their resume together really showcase that experience, particularly if they don't have a long history of formal employment, specifically as a trade assistant?
That's a great question. And here's where using specific and relatable anecdotes can be incredibly powerful.
Anecdotes, you mean like little stories or examples?
Exactly. The source encourages you to think about short stories or examples that clearly demonstrate your practical abilities and your problem-solving skills.
So not just listing tasks, but actually telling a story about how you tackled a challenge or achieved a specific outcome.
Precisely. And the more specific and relatable those anecdotes are, the better.
So give me an example. What kind of anecdote would really stand out to an employer?
Well, the source gives a great example for those aiming for electrical trade assistant roles.
Okay, I'm curious. Let's hear it.
It suggests including a humorous yet professional anecdote about a time you fixed a wiring problem.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
And as a result, you saved the company money.
Oh, that's clever.
Right. It's a way to make something technical and potentially dry, really engaging and memorable.
So you're not just saying, I can fix wiring. You're telling a story that demonstrates your skills, your initiative, and even your ability to save the company money.
Exactly. It helps you stand out as a real person with valuable skills, and it shows that you can think beyond just the immediate task at hand.
I love that example, and it brings us to another important point that this source emphasizes, which is professional presentation.
Oh, yeah. Presentation is key.
It's not just about what you say on your resume, it's also about how you say it and what the overall package looks like.
Absolutely. That first impression matters a lot.
Think of it like this. Your resume's format and layout, that's your initial handshake with a potential employer.
I like that analogy.
And if that handshake is weak or sloppy, it's not going to make a good impression.
Exactly. A cluttered, poorly formatted, or difficult to read resume can create a negative impression before they even get to your skills and experience.
And its source is pretty blunt about this. It warns against haphazard sentences or typos.
Oh, yeah, those are big no-nos.
They can be a major turnoff for recruiters because they suggest a lack of attention to detail.
And attention to detail, that's a highly valued trait in the trades.
Absolutely. So as you're writing your resume, aim for clear, concise sentences.
Exactly. You want your writing to flow naturally, to be easy for the reader to digest, and to keep them engaged with your application.
Now, the source shares a really great real-world example to illustrate just how much of a difference a well-crafted resume can make.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Tell us about Tom.
So Tom was a recent trade school graduate. He had the foundational knowledge and some skills.
But he was lacking that extensive on-the-job experience.
Right. And despite sending out over 40 applications for trade assistant roles, he was getting absolutely no responses.
Oh, man. That's discouraging.
It is. But here's the thing. It wasn't that Tom lacked potential. It was that his initial resume wasn't effectively communicating that potential.
So his resume wasn't doing him justice.
Exactly. It wasn't showcasing his skills and abilities in a way that would grab the attention of employers.
So what was the turning point for Tom? How did he go from radio silence to suddenly getting multiple job offers?
The key was a professional overhaul of his resume.
Someone helped him revamp that resume.
Exactly. They helped him highlight the relevant trade skills he had acquired during his training, and they also emphasized his team-oriented soft skills, which are so crucial in a trade environment.
So even though he didn't have a ton of work experience, his updated resume clearly communicated his readiness and his potential value to employers.
Exactly, and the results were amazing. He went from 0 responses after dozens of applications to receiving 3 job offers within a month.
Wow, that's a huge turnaround.
It really is, and it just goes to show you the power of investing the time and effort to get your resume right.
It can make all the difference.
Now, looking ahead, the source also touches on the future outlook for trade assistant jobs, which is something I think is really important for anyone considering this career path.
Absolutely. People want to know, is this a field with a future?
Right, because there's often that concern about automation and its potential impact on different industries.
Yeah, is my job going to be replaced by a robot?
Exactly. So
Right.
what does the source have to say about the future demand for trade assistants?
Well, the good news is that the source indicates that the need for trade assistance is not expected to decline.
Oh, that's reassuring to hear.
It is, and in fact, it points to specific areas of growth like the expanding renewable energy sector.
Oh yeah, renewable energy is huge right now.
It is, and there are also a number of major upcoming construction projects that are going to require skilled trade assistance.
So there's a lot of opportunity on the horizon.
There really is, and that's a positive and forward-looking perspective for anyone considering this field.
Absolutely. So for those of you listening who want to not just secure a trade assistant job, but really thrive and get ahead in this field, what practical advice does the source provide?
Well, the source offers several actionable steps that you can take.
Okay, let's hear them.
First and foremost, it stresses the importance of continuous upskilling.
So never stop learning.
Exactly. The trades are constantly evolving, new technologies and techniques are emerging, so staying current is key for long-term success.
So what does upskilling look like in practice?
It could involve gaining more specialized trade skills relevant to your area of interest.
So if you're an electrician, maybe you specialize in a particular type of wiring or a certain aspect of electrical system.
Exactly. Or it could involve developing those essential soft skills further.
Things like communication leadership,
Yeah.
problem solving.
Precisely, those skills are always in demand.
Okay, what else does the source recommend?
Keeping your resume updated is crucial.
So any new certifications you earn, any new skills you acquire, make sure those are reflected on your resume.
Absolutely. And the source also suggests seeking feedback on your resume from experienced professionals in the industry.
Oh, that's a great tip.
It is, they can offer invaluable insights and help you tailor your resume to the specific requirements of the trade.
Right. What else?
Building your professional network is another key point.
So get out there and connect with people in the industry.
Exactly. Networking can open doors to opportunities that you might not even be aware of.
And don't underestimate the power of a well-written cover letter.
The cover letter is your chance to really showcase your personality and explain why you're a great fit for a specific company and role.
It's like your personal pitch.
Exactly. It lets you go beyond just the facts on your resume and really connect with the employer on a more personal level.
All right, so lots of practical advice there. And the source uses a really vivid metaphor to highlight the abundance of opportunity within the trade sector.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It describes the bustling trade sector as a vast ocean of opportunities just waiting for skilled swimmers.
I like that the message is clear. There's plenty of work out there if you've got the skills and the drive.
Exactly. And having that solid foundation built upon the right skills and that professionally presented resume we've been discussing, that's what will equip you to navigate that ocean and achieve success.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The source also mentions being ready to make your mark in the trade sector with ATS resume.
Okay, so they're plugging their service there, but I think the core message remains the same.
It does. It's all about building that strong foundation of skills and having a compelling resume that showcases those skills effectively.
Absolutely. And lastly, for those of you who are keen to delve even deeper into career development, the source points to a related posts section.
Oh, yeah. What kind of resources can you find there?
Well, it's a treasure trove of information, really. They've got articles covering all sorts of aspects of career advancement.
So things like interview tips, job search strategies.
Exactly. And for our discussion today, there's a really relevant article titled Designing Your Trade Assistant, Resume the Do's and Don'ts.
That sounds like a must read.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's also some great information on industry outlooks for different sectors.
Oh, yeah. That's helpful for understanding where the jobs are and where the growth is happening.
Exactly. So they've got reports for the trades and services industry, as well as for the sport and recreation and self-employment sectors.
So they're covering a lot of ground.
They are, and all the content is conveniently organized by categories like interview, job search, resume.
So it's easy to find what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring everything together. What's the core message we want you to take away from this deep dive into crafting a winning trade assistant resume?
I think the fundamental takeaway is this a well-crafted resume that clearly and concisely highlights your relevant skills, both technical and soft, and effectively showcases your past experiences is absolutely essential for landing a trade assistant job.
It's your first impression. It's your chance to really shine.
It is, and it's not a one-time task either. The source really emphasizes the ongoing importance of continuous learning and professional development.
So you got to stay adaptable. You got to keep upskilling your knowledge and your abilities and keep that resume current with your latest achievements.
Absolutely. The trade sector is always evolving, so you've got to evolve with it.
So as you've been listening to this, consider this beyond just your resume. In what other areas of your life could you more effectively communicate your unique value and your skills?
That's a great question to ponder.
It is. And what's one small concrete action you can take right now, today, to strengthen your professional presentation?
Maybe update your resume. Maybe reach out to someone in your network.
Whatever it is, take that step. That's your food for thought.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, everyone.
We'll catch you in the next one.